This is the Biz Call. Question 1. What's your name?
ColbyTunick.
Question 2. What's the name of your business?
ReFocusAI.
Question 3. Describe your business in a couple of sentences.
Sure. ReFocusAI is a machine learning powered sales enablement platform. And what that means is we just answer two key sales questions. The first is, what exact product or service is someone going to purchase? And the second question, when exactly is that person going to purchase that product or service?
Wow. Question 4. What's your revenue model?
We're a SaaS company, so we charge a per year, per user subscription.
Okay. Question 5. Are you brick and mortar, online, or both?
We're an online business.
Okay. Question 6, and this is my favorite. How did you decide to get into this business?
It's a good question, hard to answer succinctly, but
take your time.
Yeah, ultimately what happened is I was working for the second largest single-line natural catastrophe insurance company in the world, and I noticed over time when our governing board was asking questions about how we were making data-driven decisions, the answers were kind of hard to come by. And what it really came down to is that a lot of companies, especially sales-focused companies, have so much data spread across so many different systems, and they really have no way to process it to turn their data into a competitive sales advantage. So, of course, answering those two key questions. So that's how we got started almost a year and a half ago, so we're still relatively new kids on the block, but we're actually an international company already. We're working with companies, a couple Fortune 500 companies in their global offices, so that's also really exciting, but that's how we got started.
Good. Question 7. Why would customers choose you over your competition?
Absolutely, and I think that this comes down to our unique focus on the value that salespeople provide for business-to-business transactions. And when we talk about that, we're talking anything really over $2,000 a year and more of a product or service. A lot of our competitors take two tacks. One is that they try to automate sales through marketing, and that could be sending automatically generated marketing emails when they think an opportunity for a purchase exists. Our thoughts on that are just, I don't know about you personally, I don't know about the listeners, but I receive a lot of emails every single day, and I really don't have time to respond to any of them, especially marketing emails. And secondly, our competitors take the tact of just trying to replace salespeople altogether. This can be AI chatbots or direct-to-consumer channels. And for us, what we believe is that anytime we're kind of talking purchases over $2,000, the trust between a salesperson and that prospective customer is super critical in actually making that additional purchase or sale happen. And so what we do is we tell the salespeople of our partner companies what opportunities exist for them in real time, sometimes even while they're on the phone speaking to the person, so that they can optimize their conversation for higher conversion and also spend their time in a more revenue-driven way rather than just reaching out to everyone and kind of taking a shotgun approach to sales.
Let's kind of jog to the right here and do question 7A, because the name of the company is ReFocusAI, right? And the AI, I assume, is artificial intelligence?
Yeah. For us, it's actually machine learning. AI doesn't actually exist. A conversation for another time, but yes,
right.
AI
okay.
derivative.
So this sounds like something very different, and I don't want our listeners to gloss over this. Maybe take us through how this thing actually works, because it sounds fascinating and it sounds different. Can you give us a little more detail about how it works?
I would love to. So the customers we work with right now, they gather for every customer or prospect that they interact with or have had a transaction with in the past, between 1 and 200 data points of that customer. And for us, what we do in order to predict someone's future buying behavior, and we do that with 94% accuracy, by the way, is we look at other people that match hundreds of those attributes or are similar to that person we're trying to understand across hundreds of attributes. And then we look at it and we say, what are all of the purchases and decisions that those hundreds or thousands of people have made recently? And then we're able to then infer what the person we're trying to understand will do next. And of course, we do this automatically. It takes us less than 2 seconds. But that's how we get to understand what someone's going to purchase next with 94% accuracy.
Now, is that happening in real time on a sales call?
It is.
Okay, that's what I thought was remarkable. Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up because that's insane. Okay, question 8. What is, if you have one, what's your exit strategy or long-term goal?
Yeah, so our long-term goal is really to become a major player in this new market segment of sales analytics. So when you look at how the sales industry has been traditionally divvied up, at least on the technology side, most of the technology was on the CRM side. There's of course been a well understood track segment of marketing, which is trying to feed your sales funnel. But now there's this whole new emerging market segment of sales analytics, and our goal is to become a major market player there. We do have kind of 2 routes we can go. One is an eventual initial public offering, an IPO, if we become large enough. And the second is honestly most probable is that within 7 years there'll be a large company that is trying to augment their existing sales technology with some sort of sales analytics, and they'll just acquire us.
Question 10. What are you doing? I'm sorry, question 9. What are you doing to increase your business?
Yeah, so we have a kind of 2-pronged long-term, increased business strategy. And the first is our blog. We have a very active blog. We post 1 piece of original content a week on anything from industry news to kind of just digital innovation to kind of sales tactics for our readership. We have over 3,000 subscribers and a very high open rate for our blog. And then the second is a partnership. So we work with complementary technology companies to embed our system in theirs and then make it a seamless experience for both their customers and ours, and eventually our customers to use both of our products in tandem. So those are kind of our longer term sales strategies that are starting to pay dividends.
Question 10. How do you measure your marketing success?
Which is a very hard question, and I think with also a very interesting one, because of course what we want to do is try to go beyond simple eyeballs on screen and time on screen. We spend a lot of time trying to optimize our website and web pages, and of course we do this by doing some heat maps and kind of scroll mapping and tracking. But we measure our marketing success in a couple of ways, and one is conversion, of course. So how many people that land on our site or on one of our blog articles ends up asking for a phone call. And the second is by just our customer acquisition costs. And I think this is really how companies should personally, my little soapbox, should be defining their marketing success. If you're pouring theoretically tens of thousands of dollars a month into paid ads and you have a great conversion rate, but each customer is costing you $5,000, is that sustainable? And so for us, what we're looking at right now in our marketing strategy and measuring our success is really trying to introduce, strengthen ourselves for marketing outreach mechanisms that actually lower our customer acquisition costs, that have a much higher visibility rate. So something like $1 spent in marketing equals $20 in revenue. And that all comes back for us for our customer acquisition cost.
I'm glad you really brought that up, because you may be the first or maybe one of two people in all the shows we've done who's actually brought up customer acquisition cost. Most people focus on, as you say, conversion and things like that, but I'm glad you mentioned that. It's critical. Question 11, are you profitable? Can be yes or no.
We are.
Good. We like that. Question 12, how many employees do you have?
We're at 7 employees right now, and we'll be at around probably 15 by the end of the year.
Okay, next two questions, two sides of the same coin. Question 13, what's been the best decision you've made so far?
I think the best decision so far has been to ask really difficult questions all the time of ourselves and the strategies and tactics we're doing. We actually have an internal word for that. We call it, or internal phrase, we call it devil's questions. Because one, you always want to be a devil's advocate or have a devil's advocate, but two, you want to ask really hard questions. And I think that has allowed us to move past some of our assumptions, really understand what our market is looking for, and build a product that people need.
Question 14, what's been the worst decision you've made so far?
What has been the worst decision? I think the worst decision we made was kind of an intermediate product decision that sucked up a lot of development time, which of course as a software company we want to avoid. We thought that there was early on perhaps an opportunity to become more CRM, customer relationship management system-like. And that was definitely by far the worst decision we made. And, we've ended up just mothballing all of those features. So all that development time really went to nothing.
Cool. Okay. All right. Question 15. This is a free ball kind of a question. Is there anything that you'd like to add that you think you should know that maybe I didn't ask you?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, one of the things I love to do on these sort of calls or podcasts, just to help out the listenership, is quickly talk about what AI is and what machine learning is, because when people hear AI, there's a lot of misconceptions. And the other thing is there's a lot of companies that are doing things that sound like AI and aren't. And, just true AI doesn't exist in a nutshell. Like we don't have autonomous beings that are able to self-rationalize and approach new situations with, thinking about past situations that may be similar. What we have now is machine learning, which is just automated statistics at scale, and that's what is going to power the next 20 years of technology, from self-driving cars to drones to VR even. And all that is it looks at a given set of data, and it just is running a very large statistical model in real time, a mathematical equation, and then it spits out a probability. And then if that probability meets a threshold, a certain action happens. And for a self-driving car, that could be what's the distance away of the car in front of me to the answer being question they're trying to answer, how likely am I to crash? And if that starts to increase towards the point that the person who developed that software set, then the car will slowly apply its brakes, right? So that's kind of a thought of how AI and machine learning are different, but also, fall under, machine learning falls under the AI umbrella. And then kind of second point, there's two fields of software development that are similar to AI and machine learning, but are not, because they don't learn over time. It doesn't take in a new data set, spit out a new mathematical number. And the first is robotic process automation, or RPA, and the second is optimization. And these are just, this is just code that has manually built constraints, but it doesn't adapt over time. It's very much like if-then decision trees. And then for optimization is just mathematical algorithms, but it's not taking in new information all the time. You kind of have a base set of assumptions, one algorithm, and then maybe a couple input variables, but it's fixed in time, and there's no quote unquote learning to it. So this try to break that down for you really quick.
That is probably worth a call right there. I think a lot of people excuse me, I think a lot of people are really buy into the Hollywood version of AI and leave it at that. And I think it's great that you're able to articulate the differences. Okay, so one more time, really slowly and clearly, give us the name of the business and the URL where people can find you.
The company's name is ReFocusAI, and our website is ReFocusAI.com.
If you'd like to plug your business on the BizCall podcast, simply visit thebizcall.com and fill out the form. If you become a guest, you'll receive a free lifetime membership to the BizCall discussion and networking list. If you're too shy, you can still join the BizCall list at thebizcall.com.